Alright, I'm back with another Destiny video here on the eve of Season of the Chosen, which launches, well, as I'm filming this tomorrow in about 24 hours and 20 minutes. And we will know a lot more then. I will be playing as soon as reset hits, and I either writing or filming something in the afternoon, but I'm probably just going to have to spend a lot of time playing it, so my full breakdown of kind of day one stuff may not be ready until the next day. When these seasons launch, I mean, they don't put everything on day one anyway, so it's not like a new expansion like Beyond Light where you can play just an endless amount of time with all the new story content. Here we're just getting into the first few battlegrounds, and we will see the reprise strikes. I don't know if those strikes are just going to be like thrown into the pool and the Nightfall. I know Sepix Prime is the Nightfall, or if there's going to be some sort of story component to them, but we'll see. I'll get into that a little later. I was kind of struggling knowing what to film today because the general mood of the community is just not great as of late, and it's still kind of overwhelmingly negative on the back of the Season of the Hunt and Beyond Light winding down itself a long time ago, and then we've kind of just had Season of the Hunt since. And it just, all the TWABs leading up to this season, there just hasn't really been a lot of excitement, and it's more been about things that are concerning to people than things people are excited about. Some of that stuff may be okay, like the, changes to recoil on PC and the 15% sword nerf and things that sound like they could be annoying, but maybe won't be that big of a deal. Others are kind of about what Bungie is not talking about, which is the complete and utter lack of discussion about PvP in any regard. This kind of bubbled over the holidays, and then we thought, like, okay, well, now they're going to address it, and they never talked about it. They have never, addressed PvP at all. All the reveals for this season, we're getting 3 new strikes, and again, no Crucible maps. We have not had a Crucible map since Shadowkeep. And again, the focus for PvP is on trials. So I'm wondering if Season of the Chosen is going to be enough to turn things around. And obviously this is going to be heavily speculative because it's, we don't know everything about the season. Granted, we know a ton more than we did before, and it could be full of, secrets that are part of, end up being the best part of the season that we just don't know about yet. I mean, nobody knew about 0 Hour going into Season of the Drifter. And I mean, let's be honest, 0 Hour didn't exactly save Season of the Drifter, but it was an added bonus. And I think now's around the time that we're supposed to get some sort of puzzle. We had the Quarters of Time in Season of Dawn, so people are hoping that we might see something cool like that here. I kind of just wanted to go through what we know about this season and what to me sounds promising and what I'm a little concerned about. First of all, we have kind of the overall storyline, and for all of the problems with Season of the Hunt, which mainly stem from Wrathborn hunts being very bad and just 15-second boss burns that are probably the worst seasonal activity, like in and of themselves, that we've ever seen. Maybe not worse than Reckoning. Like, Reckoning was more built out and it was more of like a challenge and experience. It was just the design of that was so poor. I hated it with a fiery passion, but obviously it was more substantive than Wrathborn hunts, which were just kind of nothing except for the High Celebrant hunt, and the actual missions that were there were good, but generally speaking, that's what people took away from it. But the story stuff was very solid, and I'm a little concerned that after the kind of very good Crow arc that we had and some of the better Beyond Light stuff where we learn the history of Aramis and we learn the Dark Future stuff with the Exo Stranger and her sister and Clovis Bray, I don't know if Keitel and Zavala butting heads, with Osiris and Crow standing around, is going to create the same kind of compelling story this time. So I'm a little concerned that Season of the Chosen may lose that. And, the reason being is the Cabal storylines have been pretty, I don't know. I don't want to say basic, but kind of. Like the Gaul storyline, like, okay, he wants power, he invades our city, he knocks over the tower and makes us lose our light. He's a bad guy. We go and fight him, and we destroy him with the help of the Traveler. Callus is kind of an interesting character because he's just sort of endlessly trolling us with his, golden ship and all his little games. But again, I don't see there being like compelling Cabal story content. Maybe there's something here. Like we know Keitel tried to overthrow Callus at some point in the past and usurp his throne. So if there's some sort of exploration of their relationship and what they've gone through and where the hell Callus is now and what he makes of all this after the Leviathan just pieced out, that could be interesting. And yet my concern is that this storyline is going to be mostly like, okay, Zavala doesn't want to bow to Keitel, so we have to prove ourselves going up against her champions for 3 months. And once we've killed all of her champions a million times over, I guess we'll just assume that hasn't completely decimated her army. Then maybe, she'll find us worthy allies, and then we'll team up against the Darkness and Savathun and Xivu Arath and stuff. That's kind of where I see this going. And to me, just on its face, like if that is where we're heading, that doesn't really sound as good as what we did with Crow. We could see a continuation of, the Crow stuff in a pretty interesting way. We've obviously seen him in cutscenes already next season. He's got a change of clothes. Like there's some pre-chosen lore that features him and like Osiris kind of bringing him back to the tower. So there could be stuff like his integration back into the tower. He could end up in a, be the Hunger Vanguard by the end of the season if things go his way. So we'll see. So that I'm kind of mixed on that. I didn't, you wouldn't necessarily have predicted Season of the Hunt would have an amazing story going in, but I really did like it. I know maybe maybe not everyone agrees with that, but I thought that was one thing that did really well. And I think there are aspects of the Beyond Light story that were told really well too. So I'm hoping we see that. It's just that I don't think we've had that with the Cabal in the past. Battlegrounds as an activity itself, it's not just more Wrathborn hunts, which is good. It is 3-man match made, which is good. There's kind of been a wide range of 3-man match made stuff in Destiny's history. Obviously, the biggest one is Strikes. Those are 3 men. There is Forges, and I think a lot of people like Black Armory. People maybe didn't necessarily like throwing balls at the thing endlessly, and they got kind of tired of that mechanic. But I think looking back, Forges were a pretty good activity, all things considered, compared to kind of the stuff we've gotten later. Yeah, like it's no Menagerie, it's no Sundial, but it's still pretty solid. We have 3-man dungeons, we have 3-man, like going way back to Prison of Elders, that was a 3-man activity. So I'm curious to see where this lands. I don't know if there are like individualized arenas for this. This seems like it could be like a 3-man public event on existing zones in planets. So like we might get our own separate instance of those, unless I'm misreading the trailer and we really are getting our own kind of unique arenas for that. I think if they had 4 unique arenas for Battlegrounds, that would actually be very cool, and that could create a potentially interesting activity. I am curious if all of those are going to be Cabal focused, because boy, that would be a lot of Cabal for 4 separate Battlegrounds, with Battlegrounds being the only main activity and it's only one race. Like I get lore-wise, it would be a little hard to, fight Keitel's champions if suddenly here's Fallen in there too. They're trying to invade the Battlegrounds, fight them off. I don't know. Like that would be a little strange to kind of morph other races in there too. We'll see. I know that they are adding 3 strikes. That is very good. Keep in mind we lost 7 strikes and we got 2 back last time. We're getting 3 back this time. So we're still 2 short of where we were when we started all this. I'm certainly curious to see the new strike, which is called Proving Grounds. Again, I think we're trying to prove ourselves to Keitel. That seems to be a common theme here. And then the next 2 are the reprised ones. I'm really curious about how these are handled. All signs I'm seeing is that this is not going to be like the Disgraced, which is it's the Will of Crota, but they had to redo it so it fed into the new Beyond Light story. And they redid all the dialogue with Zavala and Shahan, and it's a new boss, it's an Omnigul. It does not seem like they're doing that here. Mark Noseworthy was like tweeting about this, and he's like, this would be, brand new for new players, but it'll be a dose of nostalgia for, Destiny 1 players. And Sepix Prime or Devil's Lair was like the first strike in Destiny. So that is like 6-7 years old at this point. Like that is very old. And I wrote an article about this where I'm like, it's going to be kind of weird to, be playing the first ever strike in Destiny just like kind of out of nowhere. There isn't a ton of voice work in that one. I've actually looked it up. It's mostly just ghost talking and some Zavala lines, but it's House Devils, which is a fallen enemy that we fought like 50 times already, and they're kind of destroyed. And then the next one is about the Fallen Saber trying to like infiltrate Rasputin and steal his war stats or something. But in the present day, Rasputin has been taken over or was like kind of crippled by the darkness, and now he's in an engram, and Annabray is trying to put him in an exo. Granted, I know that we already do this with strikes. Like we have at least 2 strikes where Kate has some dialogue, and and he's dead. So it's not kind of unheard of to do this, but going that far back and like going all the way back to like the earliest days of Destiny 1 for content just seems weird. Like when there's already not that much content that gets added to drive the story forward. So if we keep, moving through this idea of unvaulting stuff from D1, like it is technically more stuff. It is a different strike. These are different strikes than we've been running, which is interesting, but I don't know what that really adds in the grand scheme of things. Like it seems like a stopgap because like they're like, oh crap, we deleted so many strikes, we need to put some more in. And if those just come in and they're just fundamentally not changed at all, I would be a little disappointed. Granted, I'm reading ahead and maybe they will be different, but that's a little weird to me. Vault of Glass, I think, will be better because at the very least, even if that's exactly the same and has all this, it's not, we need to go back to the Vault of Glass for this reason, that at least has all the loot. So this will be the first time we get, Vault of Glass armor, Vault of Glass weapons in Destiny 2. So that alone is kind of enough new stuff and enough excitement, I think, to make that edition like something to actually look forward to. That is, again, not this season, but these strikes strike me as a kind of a different addition to the game, and I just don't know how I feel about it. Moving on, I have a lack of focus on PvP. The Trials armor looks very good. It's extremely good. The problem is Trials is in such a bad place right now, and like it's almost not even Trials' fault. It's just this was sort of the natural progression of Trials at this point, where even overlooking cheating, let's not even go down the cheating rabbit hole, and obviously that needs to be fixed, but a core problem is that Trials has become like so sweaty that it is the, only 20% or 40% or whatever it is people play Crucible at this point, and it's like the top 5-10% of people that are going hard and playing Trials every weekend. So if you're just like Joe random Destiny player and you're trying to hop into Trials to get some cool stuff, like you will get annihilated almost every game without fail. And like, yeah, they've introduced a way that you can just get stomped and still get the 3-tier drop of the bounty, but Trials at baseline is both just insanely difficult, like kind of the nature of the mode, but they haven't really done anything to discourage that or encourage, quote, normal players to play it. And it is probably the most unrewarding thing you can, play in the game. You don't get end of match drops. You don't even get token drops. Like after, even on a loss, you don't even get 1 token anymore to save up for things. You only really have that 3 win or whatever it's called, the bounty that gives you the 3rd thing. That's essentially all you have. And other people have said this before, but I think you need to like shower people with loot and Trials to get them to participate and get the player population up. And all the new weapons look cool, I guess. I'm not going to go into the whole sword thing again. Like whatever, it's fine. But devoting like this many resources to Trials when it's such a microscopic portion of the player base that like even has a prayer to earn that stuff, like it feels like you're catering to an upper echelon that needs to be expanded a bit. And like I know everyone will want Trials back, and I'm not trying to be hypocritical here, and I do think Trials is fundamentally something that should be in the game. It's just that when all of the PvP focus is going to Trials season after season, that's not really helping the overall PvP issues when how Trials works in and of itself is discouraging like 99% of the population from playing. Besides that, that is most of the stuff that we know about the season. We have other events and stuff coming like Guardian Games. I do not think that is marking the return of Sparrow Racing. We know 1 exotic. We have these 3 pieces of exotic armor under wraps, and we've seen a large number of the guns that are coming. I am impressed with the overall number of guns that are coming this season, but we don't know the perk pools yet. We don't know what new perks are coming. And the core problems with sunsetting kind of remain. Like they haven't gone away. And, they're reissuing 8 destination weapons and probably a couple more that we don't know about yet. But the 2 problems that are the community most has, PvP issues and sunsetting and content vaulting, have not only have they not really changed, they haven't even really been addressed. And I know we're all expecting some big state of the game thing this season, but that's a lot of weight to put on one blog post. And maybe it'll have all the answers, maybe it'll satisfy everyone. Of course it won't. But it's going into the season and not really addressing, after an entire season of players like pretty consistently complaining about both of those things, and very, very few changes being made to kind of make a difference in either of those areas. It's kind of weird to head into an entirely new season and still not have kind of the fundamentals of those, not change. I don't expect them to just end sunsetting, but not really even addressed in any meaningful capacity. So that's something I hope we see over the course of the season. And, it always takes Bungie usually a season to absorb feedback, and then they'll implement changes for next time. Sunsetting seems pretty locked in for a long time. I guess they can change what things may or may not get sunset and the timetables and things, but the concept as a whole doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. But it also seems like it's actively driving players away and making each drop feel less valuable with an expiration date on it. And I think that's something that they need to address in a way they haven't yet, because seasonal content is like hard enough to get people to sign up for, but now it's not just the new stuff that's coming. Like, is the new stuff good enough? It is, okay, what have I lost? And every season now it's 4, 5, 6 sets of armor, depending on when it is. It can be an entire slate of mods. We might lose the entire concept of Warmind cells next time. And this season, I think it's at least 25 weapons that are being sunset. And I'm not saying they should keep everything forever in the same pool. I just fundamentally believe there was a better way of doing targeted sunsetting than this blanket kind of execution of dozens and dozens of things, essentially every season into the indefinite future here. So, and that just hasn't been addressed yet. In addition, that's like both a PvP and a PvE problem. And I haven't seen anything, in the future plans that addresses that, or in the roadmap. So maybe they'll be talking about it as the season goes on and the state of the game. But for now, I think that's why morale feels kind of weird going in, is because these major issues are here. They're not changing, and they're not really being talked about either. So it's just more like, well, here's seasonal content. Here's a bunch of guns. Like, hope you like it. And it's not really getting to the root issues of the game. So that was more of a ramble than I planned it to be, and longer than I thought. But those are kind of my thoughts and where my head is at as we go into the season. I'm going to play the season no matter what. I mean, you know that. And then probably after this, all I'll be able to talk about is the new stuff for a little while, because that's going to be sort of all consuming. So check back for that. I'll be writing articles too. And yeah, thanks for bearing with me. And Evie, do you get a cameo? Evie cameo. She's like behind me 90% of the time when I'm filming these videos. This is her spot where she can hang out with Baby Yoda in her just relaxation zone. So she says hi. All right, I will see you guys later, and you take care.